feel it's more stable.
Yeah, these chairs are
Yes.
very squeaky.
We asked the theater if there is a better chair.
Yeah.
And they said, sorry, no. That's because stable on the floor.
Yeah.
Shall we start the session today?
Yeah.
So in the next 2 hours, let's inquire into various issues of humanity, about everything we are dealing with, the way of life, all the issues the mind has encountered. So please don't agree or disagree with the speaker, because he is not telling you any ideas, but rather we observe together to find out what is actually going on the mind. Our mind is very complicated, with many processes, various directions, and compulsions. Without understanding the nature of the consciousness, our life is doomed to be trapped in various things, with various issues and problems. And unfortunately, most people are merely focusing on their issues, wanting to find a solution to their issues, though the issue is never gone, one issue by another. So the energy has been wasted and dissipated on this. Most people don't look, observe. They are merely dealing with the issues which they think are the issues. They don't explore or discover the real issues behind all those issues. Just like a tree, most people are dealing with the leaves, one piece by one piece, which is endless. So finding out the root to all the issues, problems, is a different matter. It demands one's diligent observation, careful penetration, and a huge amount of humility. That's to say, one must be utterly honest with oneself, which turned out to be a difficult thing for many people, if not for most. But without being, really candid and honest with oneself, we can't go further. We tend to go to different retreat or reading various books. But it doesn't really help unless one is really humble. Humble in the sense that one is honest with oneself. Then one can really explore and discover. Without being honest with oneself, we tend to cling to some ideas, theories, or other views created by the experts. And all of those are preventing one from going inside deeper to find out. To find out the real issue demands the mind put aside all the things it has known. This discovery is always in the field of unknown. We don't know. That's why let's inquire and find out. But as I said, I know, I ceased inquiry. Oh, I know it. Then the sense of self-importance arises. And inquiry and discovery is no longer possible. Please see the fact of it, the truth of it. Most people think they know. Though the fact that we don't know. None of us know. So this journey must start from the unknown. As we said, one must put aside everything one has known, has accumulated. Only then the mind is possible to go deeper and compound the thing that is beyond any description, but it's there. When we call it truth or whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's merely a word. But when one compound it, something really existing and fundamental, and something certain, perhaps the mind has changed. One of the most significant issues of the human mind is this constant grasping and clinging, which brings about numerous forms of attachment. And the mind is trapped in various unique attachments. In that attachment, the mind may find temporarily a sense of security. But various issues ensues. So, is it possible for one to find out the whole process of attachment? When the mind is attaching to something, what is actually taking place there? Why does mind always cling to something? hold on something and unwilling to let go. This phenomenon is so prevalent on this planet. The society, no matter which society it is based on various forms of attachment. We don't condemn anything, but we need to observe it carefully. This possessiveness, which is overprotected across the world, is strongly related to attachment psychologically. The mind claims something, want to possess it. And all the environment allow that happen very easily. We don't say it's right or wrong to possess something, but we need to be aware this psychological attachment behind it. So can one observe this process in one's mind? This constant attached to something. And where there's attachment, there must be conflict. Not only the conflict between different people, but also within oneself, when the mind attached to different directions. When the mind is attached to something, as we said, the mind may find a sense of security, though it is illusory. And in that attachment, the mind has fear in it. Because when that attachment is shaken, the mind immediately feels insecure. And feeling insecure, the mind becomes violent. Perhaps various violences in the world come from this fundamentally. Rather than dealing with the fundamental issues, we defend the attachment in various ways. Is that so? The mind is attached, feeling secure in it. When that attachment is shaken, it feels insecure. Then it needs to defend it. We don't condemn this, or whether it's right or wrong, but we need to observe it. For example, I'm attached to a specific view or a school of thought or philosophy. When somebody else is attacking that thought, I feel insecure. I feel being challenged. Then I begin to be argumentative, quarrelsome, because I want to defend that. Because I find security in that thought, in that philosophy. So I will do everything I can to defend it, to argue with people, to to defend the idea. But I don't observe. I don't deal with the actual issue. I just want to defend my idea because that gives me a sense of security or stability. And when everybody is doing that, what happens to the society? Everyone is attached to their own opinions. Then we all become neurotic. Do we? We argue. We disagree. That sense of bitterness keeps pounding us. Oh, I'm attached to something like a new car. I take care of it like my baby. When somebody hit me, just scratching my car, I feel so hurt. I want to sue him or her to get a compensation for that. That's another form of attachment, isn't it? I want to defend it. I want to get compensated. But I don't deal with the actual issue of the mind. So as long as human beings are attached, there are divisions. You attach to that, I'm attached to that. Then we can't meet. And as long as human beings are attached, there must be conflict. From this personal quarrel, fight, or one's inner struggle, to the war between nations. It seems that everything is related to this fundamental issue. Grasping, clinging, attached. Accumulating. Defending. So more and more things are possessed by human beings. And this whole earth is occupied by human beings. And in that attachment, one no longer cares about anybody else. Because that attachment matters more than anything else. One can say, oh, I love you. But actually, one loves one's attachment. As long as the mind is attached, love is not. So for anyone who is really earnest and serious, dealing with the issue of the attachment is something absolutely necessary. Otherwise, the mind has numerous attachments. One of them can be the trigger of various issues, violences, conflict. And seeing human beings are suffering from the attachment. Including myself, I must do something. That's to say, I must end all the attachment in myself. It does not mean that I no longer possess things. No. Sometimes I need to possess something to make sure I feel physically secure. But I must make sure that there's no psychological attachment. To understand attachment, that's also to say, want to explore and find out how to end it. One must understand what is security, right? See, it seems that most people find some level of sense of security from the attachment. Though attachment brings about various insecurity, fear, as we said, conflict, violences. It seems to be speaker that one must understand what is security. Why do we ask for it? First of all, we can sit here, discuss together. We must feel physically secure, right? If we don't feel secure physically, we are not here. We must in a different situation. So physically secure or physical security is something absolutely necessary, which means shelter, food, clothes, and some other necessities to guarantee the whole neuron system has the least disturbance from the environment, right? If we feel too cold or too hungry, then we can't sit here to discuss these issues. So obviously, physical security is necessary. And we need to deal with that as human beings. Like the society has, to some extent, provided this security to people. But then we need to inquire and ask ourselves, why do we demand psychological security? We have already physical security, but why do we still demand more? The mind wants to find psychological security from various things. But in that process, the attachment is formed. And the attachment brings about the opposite, insecure, fear, anxiety. and all that. Perhaps there's no such thing called psychological security. Perhaps, in other words, perhaps psychological security does not exist. And we are all looking for something that don't exist. Perhaps that's the source of all mischiefs of this attachment. We think we find something, which makes us feel secure, stable, from that thing, and then the attachment is formed. And then all the issues arrive. So the mind is so eager to get that temporary sense of so-called security without considering the consequence of all that process, the attachment. And the consequence, as we said, is that that process of attachment brings about insecurity. Can one say that in one's life? Physically, we do need security. But then we keep demanding more, which become the psychological security. And then we find that psychological security don't exist. Oh, what is the nature of that? Why does the speaker say that it does not exist? Sometimes I feel so true. When I attach to something, I can get something immediately. Wow, I feel certain. I feel stable. You see? So what's that process? What is going on in that process? So we must go slowly, a little deeper into the nature of attachment. When the mind, for example, sees a beautiful furniture, a piece of beautiful furniture, and one buy it, brings it to home, and put it in one's living room. And one loves it so much, quoted love. And one takes care of it on a daily basis to make sure that furniture is as polished as first, as begins, and try to make sure there's no scratch, for example, on that furniture. So in doing that, one feels satisfied. And suddenly, one day, one's cat scratches on the furniture. And one feels so so bad about it. Once satisfaction is gone, because that satisfaction also contains the perfection of the furniture. That perfection gives one sense of satisfaction. But let's look at it. That satisfaction, of course, we don't condemn it. We see the nature of it. It's the process of thoughts, isn't it? One just keep it perfect. So that gives the mind an idea, oh, it is free of any scratch. It's perfect. And when one takes pleasure from it, which give the mind a sense of security, but which is not really security. Rather, this whole process makes the mind conditioned to that. Perfection. And that conditioning brings about some sense of stability, positivity. But that conditioning is very vulnerable. When the cat just scratches the furniture, that conditioning is challenged. And the mind is therefore disturbed. So the speaker asks, is that security? Or it's merely a thought process where the mind is conditioned temporarily. And then when the condition is changed, the mind feels shocked, disturbed. And see, madam, what people have done to this. They try their best to make their conditioning permanent. That's all the world. They do every way to make the conditioning look like permanent. So that's why seeking permanency becomes so important. I want to find something permanent, which can give me pleasure, satisfaction all the time. You see, all of those points to that one is not observing and dealing with the issue. Behind the seeking permanency, there's great efforts and also frustration. Because nothing is permanent. The fact is that nothing is permanent psychologically. Also, ultimately, you see, every day is different, whether everything is changing. You see, we are so cunning. We want to fulfill ourselves, or want to find something permanent to constantly satisfy us. But all of those only perpetuates the attachment. And letting go becomes something very difficult for human beings to do when the mind is craving permanency. So, you see, behind the attachment, the mind keeps seeking, wanting more, grasping. When the mind sees the fact that there's no such thing called psychological security, or psychological security is merely a thought process, which is never stable, permanent. Seeking permanency is in vain. Therefore, seeing that, can the mind stop seeking any permanency psychologically? As we said before, physically, we do need security. A stable income, which is necessary in the society, right, to make sure the physical living is not affected. But can the mind not seek anything permanent psychologically? As long as we are seeking psychological permanency or the security, the mind is trapped in illusions. The constant attachment with various issues, problems, conflict. Without dealing the attachment, we are dealing with our various issues. And everybody is doing that. And therefore, we are still divided. I care about my own issues, and you care about your own issues. But actually, these issues are not our own. It's the issues of all human beings. But when I deal with the essence of attachment, which is not my particular issue, I begin to care about all humanity. Because regardless one's background, language, or gender, or any particular form of attachment, attachment is attachment. The essence stays the same. So seeing the illusion of the existence of psychological security, I don't seek anything. That's to say, I must observe carefully what my mind is going through. I may go to a clothes shop where I notice a very beautiful piece of clothes. I feel it, I touch it, but I observe. I observe the thought processes. When I feel it, I touch it, it gives me some kind of sensation. That's normal, healthy. But when the thoughts come alongside, I want to have it. That could be the issue. So I must be aware of this whole process of thinking. The attachment is the thought processes. When I touch it, when I feel it, there's no attachment. But when the mind says that I want to have it, I want to possess it, I want to wear it to show off, for example, then the thought will create the attachment. So can the mind observe the whole movement of thoughts without forming the attachment? That's to say, just observe. For example, when I have a beautiful piece of furniture at home, I must observe myself, observe the tendency for perfection. So that very observation, or the awareness, stops the tendency for perfection. I must say, okay, there are scratches. That's fine. That's a fact. I stay with that fact. But the furniture is for its functional purposes, not for this kind of a external showing off. And I see the danger of that. When I want to make it perfect, it's no longer for the functional purposes, but for the cosmetic, right, outlook, which only bring about troubles, issues. And seeing that the mind is not attached to that. But when the mind is not seeing that, and which means that the mind wants to be perfect, then any scratches or small damages to the furniture will bring about issues. When the mind sees that, okay, perfection is an idea, the fact that nothing is perfect, I stay with that, then there's no attachment. Similarly, in our living, can the mind observe its own movement of thoughts? Can thoughts stay in the right place without going further to form attachment? That's one of the biggest challenges of all human beings are facing. That's to say, thought has gone too far in every corner of our living. Human beings are very smart. Thoughts have their purposes, right? We can figure out a solution. We can invent tools to change the nature. Right? We have various techniques. We can grow trees or grow crops and produce various things. Thoughts are very capable. Thoughts indeed help human beings survive, right? We can make the physical living much easier than ever. So thoughts are not to condemn. But we must observe why thoughts has gone too far, right? Why thoughts has gone into the psyche. Do you understand what I mean? So physically, we use thoughts, to make sure we are physically secure. But why thoughts go into the psyche, forms the psychological world? As we said earlier, the attachment is a process of thoughts. Finding security from thoughts in the psyche is the psychological security. Of course, again, we must be very careful here. We don't condemn any thoughts. Physically, we also use thoughts to solve our physical issues. But when thoughts become psychological, we get issues. You see the difference? Physically, we use thoughts to deal with our physical issues so we can feel secure. But when thoughts become psychological, we get issues. When the mind is attached to something, the mind has formed the sense of me. Is that clear? Just use this example of the furniture. When a cat scratches the surface of the furniture, one feels hurt. But obviously, that furniture is not one. It's a fact, isn't it? It's just furniture. But one identifies that furniture with oneself. So when that furniture is damaged, one feels hurt. So it means that the attachment implies the sense of me. Objectively, that furniture is furniture. It's not me. But when that furniture is damaged, I feel hurt. What happens? I internalize that furniture as part of me. But the fact is that that furniture is not me. So why is there such a contradiction? Just like another example we said earlier, when I am attached to some philosophy, when somebody is taking that, I feel hurt, and I begin to defend it. The fact is that that philosophy is not me, but I feel that it's part of me. What happens?
Your self-worth is connected to it? Or?
Self-worth.
Yeah, your feeling of self-worth?
Yeah. So they're all connected to that. But when I see it objectively, it's all outside me. That the furniture, the philosophy, anything is something external. But why I feel it's part of me. When I have that philosophy, I feel worthy. When I have that furniture, I feel worthy. So we must deal with this illusion of the thoughts of the mind. So that's why when thoughts become psychological, it gets issues. It begins to ignore and even distort the fact. The furniture is obviously outside me. But when the attachment is formed, attachment is a thought process. And therefore, thought becomes psychological. I feel that that furniture is part of me. So when that furniture is damaged, I feel uncomfortable, hurt. And this phenomenon is repeated in everything, right? So can one observe this as it is? Can one see the illusion of the me, the self-worth or anything created by thoughts? They are all thoughts. So can one live a life with the thoughts in the right place without letting thoughts become psychological? To delve into this issue, the possibility to live life with thoughts in the right place, we must also deal with another issue, pleasure. First, we don't condemn it. We don't say you should not have pleasure. We just observe what is the nature of that. Why does pleasure become so important to our life? One seeks pleasure from various things, entertainment, amusement, and various superficialities. And then they think pleasure is happiness, though the fact is not. Perhaps people don't find happiness. Therefore, pleasure as an alternative becomes tremendously important. But when one is, seeking pleasure, wanting to find pleasure in various things, the mind encounters the opposite, fear. The mind wants to be fulfilled, and therefore afraid of losing any fulfillment. The mind wants great satisfaction, gratification, and therefore the mind is afraid of losing all those things. And it seems that the whole society, the world, is promoting pleasure, encouraging various forms of pleasure seeking. But when one feels pleasurable, who is that one feeling pleasurable? Is it me? The ego?
The one who was seeking it?
Yeah. It's that ego. The ego is seeking it.
Yeah.
So the seeking pleasure has the ego at root. We don't condemn it. We just observe the whole processes of this phenomenon, the processes of the mind. So the pleasure has the sense of me at root. And can one see the relationship between attachment and pleasure? They are all connected. And taking pleasure from something is a process of thoughts, isn't it? There's mental activities, the images, the sensations. What a wonderful thing! What a wonderful experience! With the verbal expressions in it. So it's a thought process. Can be aware of it. Again, we don't say we need to deny pleasure. We don't say that. Rather, we observe these whole processes.
So can you still have pleasure without the ego?
Let's find out. Let's find out, madam. Obviously, when one is seeking pleasure, one can't find happiness. Happiness is not seekable. When one is seeking pleasure, one has already known what is pleasurable, isn't it? That's why one wants to achieve it, right? But happiness is not in the field of knowing. If you already know what makes you pleasurable, then you can't find happiness. And most people are doing that. Oh, last thing I feel pleasurable, I want to achieve it. That's the ambition. An ambitious man can't find happiness. So can the mind put aside everything it already known? Perhaps a different form of pleasure comes into being.
So happiness is always new.
Always new. Always new. New means what, madam?
The unknown.
Unknown, you never know. But when you know it, it's not new.
Yeah.
And then it's a pleasure. You want to repeat it, want to reproduce it, but see the consequence of it. Just like this, madam, it seems like this inquiry. Start from the unknown, right? So the unknown is never seekable. You can't seek it. But the known, you can seek it. Is it because you have image? Okay, I know what's that. I want to achieve that. That's seeking. Seeking pleasure, fulfillment, and attachment. All that is in the same process. But the thing that cannot be sought is not in the field of known. The joy of living is not known. When it's become known, it's no longer joy, it's pleasure, with all the consequences, issues, problems. So can the mind let go? Can the mind be free of all attachment psychologically? There's no attachment at all. Can this psychological world be emptied? With all the strife, struggle gone. Perhaps then the mind can compound what is joy, what is happiness. I can compound it, but I can't grasp it. I can smell it, but I can't accumulate it. I can perceive it, but it can't become my knowledge. Because knowledge means the known. Then when I grasp the knowledge, the old trap, the old pattern comes back. The known is the whole thought process. There's a seeking, grasping, playing, fulfilling, fear, conflict, struggle. There's no space for joy. Can I say that? There's no space for happiness at all. Space means empty. When the mind is no longer occupied by this stuff, there's space, and happiness can flower in it. Otherwise, there's only struggle.
ask a question?
Yes, please, madam.
In the light of all of this, why are we quick to judge? What does this have to do with everything you just said? 'Cause I'm trying to link the judgments to, does that give pleasure? Does not really? Why do we do it?
Why do we judge? Why do we give such a quick judgment on everything?
Yeah.
We must observe, madam, what is going on the mind. So, for example, when one is listening to these things, what happens to the mind? Is the mind actually listening, or the mind is merely interpreting according to one's own experiences or accumulated knowledge, viewpoints, and so on? So we don't condemn it. We just observe this whole process. Can one be aware of that completely? Don't control it. Just observe it. In that observation, the judging or judgment becomes very weak. So like when I'm listening to you with full attention, I must observe my reaction to your words. When I observe my reaction to your words, my judgment stops. Right? I give my heart to what you says. I want to find out what you are talking about. At the same time, I must observe myself. Okay, because of my past opinions, viewpoints, or accumulated knowledge, experiences keeps popping up and become a filter. The mind want to translate what you said through that filter. I see the danger of it, because then it's become my judgment. So I observe, be aware. Therefore, the mind can put aside it. So why do we always judge? Is that because we don't observe that process, and we rely on our own judgment to give us a sense of stability, to re-enhance our own opinions? Is that so? It's kind of defense. We tend to judge it in a way we feel comfortable with. Especially when the mind hears something that might be different from what one has already known. So the tendency to judge is also a way to defend, to keep the me from being challenged. Is that so? But if I really observe, aware, seeing the danger or seeing the fear of being challenged, let me go through it, see what happens. Perhaps I will see the futility of judging on anything, because that's only the self-enhancement. When I'm really listening, when I'm really observing, I have nothing to defend. So can I observe the whole processes so the mind can free of any background? When there's no background, what to judge? That's only what it is, right? Okay, I hear what you say, and then I'm observing to understand what you are really pointing to. Then that's only what it is. But when I begin to agree you or disagree you, then there's a constant judgment, then I can't stay with what is. I only hold on to what I think what should be.
Yeah, you're creating problems actually.
Yeah.
The whole time. Yeah.
Don't agree or disagree. Just listen, observe. I think it applies to our life situations. Right? When we talk to different people or listen to different people, just listen, observe. Don't make any judgment. What one says might be full of contradictions. I can say it, that's fine, but I don't need to judge it. I say or what he says or what she says is meaningless, for example, full of deceptions. I say it, that's fine, but I don't make any judgment on it. So putting aside or putting down this self-defense, one need to find one's approach, because that's the key to empty this psychological world. Where there's a self-defense, there's a wall. Around the wall, and the wall created the world of the psychology, the psyche, right? And in that war, let's keep fighting, judging, agreeing, disagreeing. Then it is merely perpetuation of this ego, the me. That's why, Madam, it's very important for one to be quiet. When our mind is very busy, judging is very, very easy to take place. That's why, if possible, one need to let mind be quiet. Because, because only when the mind is quiet, the mind can observe carefully, observe the subtle processes of the thoughts. But when the mind is busy, it is trapped in the reactions. Therefore, judging or condemning, agreeing, disagreeing, it's very easy to take place. That's why, so when one has really nothing to do, just do nothing. Just empty everything. So the mind can have the space to go deeper into the psyche. So this transformation of the mind demands one's diligence. To empty everything is something very diligent. One must be very diligent to do that. Not lazy ones. Well, actually, when the mind is full, it's very easy to be that. And that's the laziness. Most people's mind are very lazy. That's why the mind is being filled by various things. But when mind is really diligent, alert, the mind can empty itself. And then we can observe our judgment. The very observation stops judgment. But that means that we must slow down mentally. Mentally slow down. If we are hasty, we are being influenced or propelled by various factors. The mind in a very rapid pace, then we can observe. So one must be careful with various influences in the environment, not being pushed by anything. So one must find one's ways to slow down mentally. And the slow down means the mind is free of time. Physically, biologically, we do have time. If we meet people, we need to have time to go to work, for example, or to meet somebody, or do something. We need some time. You need to catch a bus or the subway. We need to have the time. That's fine. But when the time becomes psychological, it gets issues. Oh, okay, I must do this. Oh, I must do that. You see, all this implies time. So the psyche is trapped by the rhythm of time. And then everything becomes very hasty. In that state, the mind can't observe, because the mind keeps wanting to do something. Okay, I must. Oh, okay, I must do that. Okay, I will do that. You see, I must. I will. I shall. All implies time. So life can be very fast-paced, because the life is trapped by time. So slow down mentally means that can the mind be free of time psychologically? We only use time whenever necessary, like to catch a bus, for example. When one is really doing that, the mind becomes utterly sensitive. You see, one can feel various pressures from various factors. Even catching a bus or meeting somebody on time has its stress in it, pressure in it. We don't condemn it, we just say the whole process of it. Unless one has to use time, can one be free of time? When there's no time, everything is slow. When there's a time, there's always urge to do something. And that urge prevents the mind observing, perceiving. And when the mind sees the time, like the watch, or the watch on the smartphone, it is easily to calculate, measure, think about, what to do next. So the mind can be easily urged by various things. But one may ask oneself, are those things necessary or not? Or is merely the mind want to fulfill itself?
We tend to be very strict. I tend to be very strict for myself. So sometimes when I have nothing to do, I hear myself thinking, I should go to the gym, I should go for a walk, all these things, and nothing feels good. I don't really want to do it. Should I? I don't know what to listen to in that moment.
Madam, if in that moment, could you possibly explore whether the mind can be quiet, have no direction to seek, just totally fully be with this moment?
But then I have in the back of my mind that the answer should come, that the moment should tell me whether or not I should go to the gym. You understand? I feel like I'm still forcing it to get an answer.
You're still forcing it to get the answer.
Even when I'm trying to be quiet.
Madam, like going to a gym, perhaps it's your life habit. It's been a long time. That's why when you have nothing to do, that pattern just easily kick in. Okay, I need to go to the gym. So can you observe that? Well, the speaker does not say that you shouldn't go there. You can go there, of course. But when you can you observe that? Just be quiet for maybe half an hour or 1 hour. Just put inside everything. Just, so madam, when the mind puts aside everything what I should do, unless I have to do, put aside everything what I should do, everything human beings have invented. I'm just nothing in that half an hour or 1 hour. Can one do that to see what happens? Because, as we said, it's not in the known. And then going to gym, it doesn't matter. But can the mind be nothing for a while? And explore what's like to be nothing, completely nothing. Then, madam, you will perhaps get more than what we talk about here.
Maybe better than go to the gym.
Maybe today, when you be nothing for maybe 1 hour, you feel that today, okay, it's not the right time for me to go to gym. I feel the body is very tired, for example. But if I don't quiet, if I'm not quiet, I don't really pay attention to the body. The idea of going to gym is dominating me. Then when I go to the gym, but I feel very bad today because actually the body is already very tired. So madam, that's why when we are nothing, the neuron system become very sensitive. The body is already very tired. It's not right today to go to the gym. So being nothing. So the whole neuron system begin to listen. Because when it's really nothing, there's no me, there's no self. And the mind or neural system begin to pay attention to what is going on actually in the body. So that's why it is so important to empty everything. And empty everything, or being nothing, means to die. Well, it sounds dreadful. It's not that. Die to everything, free of any attachment. Ending the me. And then there's a natural rejuvenation. The body rejuvenates.
Yeah, I've had this idea before that in life there's also always death.
And yes, then can we prepare for that? How to do that? Die now. Empty everything. It doesn't mean that you forget everything. No, empty everything. Then, if one can do that regularly in one's living, I mean, if emptying becomes the top priority of one's living, there's no fear at all. Because dying is part of life. Dying and living is the same thing, right, madam? Otherwise, living keeps accumulating. Then there's a tremendous fear for losing, which is dying. Then in that living, it's an endless struggle. But when the dying and living is one thing, empty. Life is always fresh. And there's beauty in it, madam. There's joy in it. It's not pleasure, but it's a different form of pleasure. As you can't seek, it's there. So, living and dying together. Madam, all animals, except human beings, are living that way, living and dying together. But human beings has cultivated this ego, the me, keeps grasping, clinging, longing, wanting more and more, accumulating. It never dies. Therefore, human beings are suffering. Life has become meaningless. When there's no death, life is meaningless. And death becomes something very dreadful to think about. But when we really die to everything, life becomes meaningful. Everything's fresh. So only a mind that can die to everything knows what to live. Only a mind that can die everything knows what is innocence. Can one's life be innocent? In that innocency, there's a beauty beyond the words. In that innocency, there's love, there's care, and also goodness, which is almost extinct in the world.
Children have it.
So can we be that bad? Like in the Dollar Jing, there's such a word saying, can one be like a baby with its softness, tenderness? When the mind can empty everything, which is to die to everything, the mind is no longer hard. There's softness, there's tenderness, right, madam? There's goodness. We care about each other. we care about humanity. But when that's me, I only care about my pleasure, my fulfillment. And I defend that there's this hardness of the mind. Where there's defense, there's hardness. Therefore, it cannot die. Everything is accumulating more and more. And everything is degenerate. Right? Everything like that. But when one is really living upon truth, die now, empty now, live now. There's care, there's beauty, there's tenderness. But madam, see, all those parents, they don't know the truth. To see the society is shaping and reshaping the young children to be part of the society. That's the brutality. When we are really understand all those, we know how to care about people. Then we can take care of children. One cannot let children be part of this society, be part of its problem. Can children grow up still with this innocency? Can we have this innocency back? All this demands one's hard work, diligence.
I think it's also because nobody feels safe. Also, the parents don't feel safe, and the children don't feel safe.
It is a vicious circle.
Yeah.
It's said, madam, it's because the adult is trapped by the ego. The ego is full of fear. The ego is always struggling. Therefore, one cannot take care of the children. And the children feel unsafe. It's also natural. It's a vicious circle. But when the adult understands the danger of the ego and see the absolute necessity to empty the ego, end the ego, then one knows how to live a life without any fear. Without any fear, one naturally cares about everybody, including children. And therefore, children also can feel safe. You see, in this egocentric world, everybody feels unsafe. Everybody feels disconnected. And nobody cares about each other. In this conflict, struggle. The conflict between the children and their parents, and all that. So when one sees sees the truth of this, one must stop for myself. I see the danger of the ego with all the mischiefs. I must find out how to live life without ego, without any fear. Then, without fear, I feel secure. I feel energy. And it naturally goes out to more people. Otherwise, everybody become an energy absorber. Right? Every absorb energy. It's horrible. But when there's love, when there's no fear, there's abundant energy going out. And perhaps that's love. Real love, care. And most people are not willing to stop to listen, to observe. They are always busy with their own life, with all their confusions, troubles. They are not even bothered to observe, to find out. Most people are deeply conditioned to their own life. The mind has already become dull, losing that sensitivity. Without sensitivity, anything obvious is no longer obvious.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please, madam.
In the past, when the mind is unaware, when read something in the media which is, I would say, is dirty, vulgar, or even violent, and one finds that sometimes those images, footages, or words, descriptions pops up in the mind. Yeah. How could one deal with those images the mind picked up in the past?
Madams, we need to say that the mind is very easy to register various things. That's part of the function of the neuron cells. So first of all, we shouldn't resist to that. It's the natural part of the process. No matter what we have seen or have read, the mind can register something, like the images, the verse. So when one empties one's mind, when the mind is no longer occupied by anything, those things may pop up. Can I observe now, immediately? It's not to resist that, okay, this should not happen. Then you are not observing. The idea of what not should be begins to dominate you, right? Put that aside. Let's know what should be, what should not be. Just observe those images popping up. Stay with that. Don't run away from it. Observe your reaction to it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
And it stays for a while. And when there is no judgment, no reaction, it passed away naturally.
Naturally.
Yes.
And
But still,
we haven't finished yet. In observing that and seeing all the reactions to that images or words or thoughts, just be with that. The mind will come upon insight into it. The insight, well, maybe, so what is the essence of those words? What those words are pointing to? When the mind comes upon the insight, oh, this image means what? All the reactions ceases. So stay with that. Don't seek. Don't run away. Don't resist. Don't have emotion about that. When the mind is quiet, the mind will come upon insight. And the insight will dissolve this issue forever. It's not something mysterious. If you really go through it, you will see what I mean? So the mind will come upon insight, but don't seek it. You never know when it arrives. It will arrive. As long as the mind is quiet, has no resistance. As we said, now, all those images or the thoughts or ideas popping up from the past is only a phenomenon. The true issue is not that. And the insight will guide you to see the true issue. And seeing that true issue, those images, ideas, or words become irrelevant. But obviously, must the mind be quiet.
It seems it often happens when the mind is wandering. When it falls into thought movement.
Could you give a little more details about that?
So when, like when one is meditating, and one is feeling, and those images don't often appear. When the mind is inattentive, sometimes at that time.
As we said, when those images or words appear, just observe it. They are just a phenomenon. The true issue is not that. The true issue, as we said, if the speaker is allowed to speak now, is the active state of the ego. And observe what is your reaction to those images. If you have no reactions, those images or words are not relevant. It just passed away and never come back. But if you those words give you some reactions, delve into it. Why do you have that reactions? What kind of images are you holding on to? So you keep reacting to these images or thought. Do you understand what I mean? So go into it. You must have some deeper issues that make you react to those thoughts. Deal with that, not those thoughts. When you deal with those thoughts or images, you don't deal with the actual issue. And then it will come back again and again. So find out what's the issue behind that reaction. When the mind is free of any issues, any attachment, any thoughts just appear and go away. But when the mind has some issues undetected, when the thoughts pop up, there's reaction. And the reaction makes those thoughts stay. But when there's no reactions, thoughts just appear and go away. I have 3 treasures and leave them to give them. First is compassion. Second is staying unknown. Third is humility. It's one thing, isn't it? The mind is empty. It has space. It must be humble. When the mind has space, no thoughts, ideas, or no the ego things occupied. Therefore, there's no energy dissipation. Therefore, there's abundant energy going out, which is love, compassion. When there's no me, no ego, there's no fear. Therefore, the mind is brave. And we can see the next paragraph. In truth, everything develops and flourishes naturally without being shaped by efforts. All human worlds are full of efforts to seek, to fulfill, to try to find something permanent. Truth generates everything without any sense of possessiveness. But we are human beings. We human beings are very possessive. Truth does things without self-importance. Human beings are doing the opposite. And truth achieves things without claiming credit. Well, we have copyright. Because truth possesses nothing, therefore has nothing to lose. See our fear. One possesses something, accumulates something. In that attachment, there's a fear to lose. And also, the egotistic state is very competitive, right? Agreeing, disagreeing, quarreling, arguing are all the forms of competition, though in subtle forms. You see, in the sage gives precedence to others, inadvertently making himself outstanding. The sage puts himself out of consideration, unintentionally preserving himself. The sage does not compete, therefore he is carefree. It is unstable when standing on toes. It cannot last long when striding. Standing on toes and striding all implies efforts. Try to make something impermanent, permanent. The human psyche is apt to do that. you can see the trouble is no greater than underestimating the ego, which is petty, greedy, and aggressive, which almost lets me lose the treasures. Passionate, staying empty, and never preceding the world, the humility. You see, the trouble is no greater than underestimating the ego, which means that it demands one's diligent work to deal with the ego. The ego is very subtle, very cunning. That's our real enemy. And not the enemy outside, not that guy, but the enemy of the ego. And strongness is inferior. Softness is superior. Any more things to share? Oh.
Yeah, what is anger?
What is anger? First of all, anger is not that word. We want to inquire and find out what is going on. What is the word anger point to, right? Does anger have fear in it? If there's no fear, when there's no fear, is there anger?
No.
When one sees everything clearly, the mind is free of any fear. Where is the place for anger? So can the mind be free of all fear? When one is in an anger state, what one should do? Observe. What does that mean? For example, just take example of the speaker now. I'm in a state of anger. What should I do? If I see the anger is something outside me, I will do something about it. I may read some books or consult somebody else to help me or do various things. But is anger really outside me? Or is the anger Or is the anger me? I'm the anger. Can you see the differences between these two?
Are you talking about blame also, or?
Similarly, when I see the anger is something outside me, I begin to blame others, also sometimes myself. But when I see I'm the anger, I'm no different from anger. I see the illusion of seeing that anger is outside me. Because the me is all very deceptive. It's always dividing, separating. Okay, it's you, it's me. Anger is outside. But when I see the illusion of that, I see the ego is the anger. The anger is the anger is the ego. Then I find that I can do nothing. Because now, no matter what I do, is the ego-centric behavior. And the anger is the ego. So no matter what I do now, I only enhance the anger, right? Various compulsive behaviors, impulsive behaviors in that state. So just do nothing. I see the essence of the anger is the total state of the ego. When there's a fear, when various fears are together, there's this concentrated violence, which expressed in the form of anger. What I do is just be with that. Do nothing. Empty. Which means that I must let go of everything now, immediately. Just wait for the whole neural system to recover naturally. I can do nothing. And when I finish that anger, I must observe, find out, okay, can I interfere all the fears? Can I be free of all judgment? Can I be free of all mental resistance, defense? All that will bring anger if I don't end them. So anger, as we said, is a phenomenon. And we must go beyond the phenomenon to find the root. That's to say, can the mind end the ego? Can the mind free of all fears? Can the mind be aware of its judgment? Can the mind put aside all the images of what should be or what should not be? When the mind is holding on to what should be or what should not be, which is attachment, right? Then there is a self-defense, there's a judging, and anger is inevitable. Can one see this whole process as it is? Any more questions?
I have no more questions.
And then I think that's enough for today's session. We have a few more sessions in the coming weeks. Yeah, we can, if possible, we can still continue on different topics. And also thank you for watching, for these people who are watching on YouTube, and hopefully we can see you again in the future sessions. Take care.
It begins windy outside.
Yes, the
So
weather is.
You don't live far from here, right?
No.
Good.
No, I go to the metro now.
Oh.
I'm on the bike.
And the